Hey.
Hey Richard, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Getting closer. Next Tuesday evening is when I leave for Europe. For, I guess, 2 weeks I'll be out there.
Whoa, you're really getting around, eh?
That's the top of my mind right now. Yeah. Yeah, just
Yeah.
like, I guess I have one friend that he was going to this conference in Las Vegas, and then he's going to Europe also. So I decided I'll just since my friend is going, I'll join him, and that makes the trip more fun. So sort of like an opportunity to just go different places. And then actually my parents were in LA. That's why I was out there. So just like coincidentally, all these different trips I'm going on, there was just like different people happen to be around, and so it made sense to join them.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm a little envious. Just stay out of Ukraine, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. I'm hoping to make different content about these trips. I have like various little video clips and some photos from these trips, and I'll try to like create some kind of content out of it. I feel like that's what I want to get out of these things.
Good. Yeah, travel when you're young. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, that
Don't
makes
wait.
sense. Yeah.
Don't wait until you're an old man.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I don't know how much people get done in retirement. Not much like athleticism, maybe. Maybe some people are athletic in retirement.
Well, I just saw a picture of an old couple in Venice, and the wife is passed out. And it says, "Yeah, travel when you're younger, not when you're older."
It's for you.
Well, I was following Robert Kawasaki, whatever his name is there, for a bit. Read his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then working on the cash flow quadrants. Quadrants, I think. And then started getting into his podcast. And I don't know why, but I took a look online, and there's some controversy about Robert and how he made his fortune. So, and his book, he talks about starting up some businesses and doing real estate, but folks are saying he got his wealth from writing the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And then it's possible that the rich dad in the book's not even true. I think it's not even a real character. It's made up.
That's what I assumed, actually. I thought they were like stereotypes. I don't know how much. Yeah, I don't know any details about this controversy, but I guess he could have made some decent, some low amount of wealth, and then written a book about that, and then the book caused him to double his wealth, or let's say whatever, he factor of 10 or something. But then
right, but
Rich Dad Poor Dad, I would imagine they're not. I wouldn't think they would be real characters.
But he was saying that they were real. That the rich dad was his friend's dad, and the poor dad was his own dad, the educated father. And the way he described, his struggles and remembering the advice of the rich dad, and that's what encouraged him. And he called his rich dad when he was at a low point, and got encouragement when he was homeless with his wife Kim. Who is this rich dad if it's not a real character? Who was he calling for encouragement? And
it's weird. Does it, in some way, does it matter though? If
what
matters
it does.
is if it's, I mean, it's got to be about the advice though, right? Was the advice correct? Even if this is a real character and all these things really happened, that doesn't prove anything. It's just a single story. One would have to sort of look at the data or something on, see if it actually makes sense.
How did he get his fortune? He writes a book about getting about financial advice and um, describing that he got his fortune through his business, which is an education business, The Rich Dad. But it's really the writing of the book. That's where he amassed. That's where he got his wealth.
I guess
So
he wouldn't have had that wealth though when he was writing the book. Anything that came from the book.
no, but who is he to write a book on financial education when he has amassed no wealth?
How was he doing like before the book though? Was he just like okay, like a middle class?
He's bankrupt one, two, three businesses, two businesses, and his rich dad one even bankrupt at one point because he didn't give the proper royalties to one of the companies and was sued for 24 million. But yeah, and I get like corporations go bankrupt, whatever. But you didn't even have 24 million in the business. Where what?
Do you think bankruptcy is a trick that the rich use? Like, if you go bankrupt, your business goes away, but you can just like try again.
Yeah,
And
that's
maybe,
exactly what it is.
yeah, like you just keep starting businesses until one of them is successful. And whenever they fail, it doesn't really cost anything. Like the business goes away and you just get to start clean again. And
It's like
there's like no
Monopoly.
penalty. Yeah, they don't get like punished for losing. They just
No,
get to keep
but
trying it.
but if it's you that gets sued and you can't pay, yeah, I mean, then you have your credit killed for 7 years.
Yeah.
If you do file for bankruptcy. So it's a lot more damaging for you to reset if you bankrupt. But you can have multiple corporations shielding you. And I mean, he didn't have 24 million. Maybe he put his money elsewhere and then just knew this issue was coming and then put his money offshore. And then so when the $24 million lawsuit hit him, he was like, well, I don't have that much. So take what I have, which is like 10 million, and fuck off. And then he folded. And then the other 14 million that would have been taken away was hidden. I mean, that's a smart thing to do, and I can't blame him for that and whatever else. That's just the shields the wealthy use. And, good on him. But what bugs me is this guy's writing a book about financial education, giving all this controversial advice, which can actually be very dangerous. I mean, it's completely changed the way I look at society and the education structure. And I agree with a lot of what he's saying. Like, for instance, the higher your score, it means the more afraid you are of failing or getting something wrong. Schools seem to value perfection when really it's through our failures that we learn. Our whole schooling system is kind of fucked that way. And I agree. I totally agree. But, he's saying a lot of stuff that's challenging the system. And that's great. But, if I'm going to be apart from the system and not, play ball with the middle class anymore, I need to know how to be wealthy. I need to know how to be rich so I can elevate above them. And so then I can have people working for me. But if everything you're teaching me is something I can't trust because how you amass your wealth isn't true, then how can I trust the advice that you're giving me that's going to elevate me up to being wealthy, to being rich? Like, how can I trust that? How can I trust that I should invest in real estate? Because I look at real estate, especially in I've checked out Oakville and Mississauga and Toronto just because everybody's saying Toronto is super ridiculous, but there's some opportunities in there. I've seen some houses that are run down that could be sold for 1.3. And if you can get someone else to pay for your mortgage and you can tear that house down and build a triple story building, you could make, I've seen one property on the street that's completely run down and another one that's flipped. and the price difference is the one is market value that's worn down is 1.3 million, and you could maybe, I don't know if people would lowball in this current market or if they would offer more, probably more. But the one that I saw that was renovated and flipped was going for 2.9 million, just down the street, closer to Bloor. And so if you can afford to hold on to that place, so buy it, afford to have it and pay for the property tax and get the permits and tear it down and rebuild, you can make some serious change. So it's not impossible. It's actually not impossible. But the amount of risk, or rather the amount that you need to put into it, you'd have to go all in if you're just starting off, if you can even get to it. So it's not something for a beginner. And then I'm looking at Barrie, and I'm looking at Angus, and I'm looking at Ottawa, and I'm looking at everything in between. And so look, I'm looking at how the market is. It's slowed down, but the prices are still ridiculous. And because the prices are so fucking high, it's just not a good time. There needs to be a correction, a serious correction. And the market needs to make sense again, but it doesn't. And I just don't trust the market right now. Like, I don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
With my
it does seem like going backwards, you couldn't go wrong buying real estate, but in today's market, it seems like you can only go wrong, or there's only like it's very hard to find something that works.
Well,
When
they don't.
in the past, it's like you just buy as much as you want and everything would go up.
They don't advertise power of sales foreclosures in the States, but they don't advertise the properties of power of sales. They're not like, it's not obvious. It should be, but it's not. And those are where the deals are, because the banks just want to get rid of that property. They don't want it. They want the mortgage, right?
Yeah.
And the city wants their property tax. Like, yeah, that's where the money is made. The money is not made off of land anymore. It's made off of mortgages and property tax. So you get the deals in the power of sale, but they're not easy to find unless you know somebody to help you out. So it's just like, it's who you know. It always seems to be. It's always down to who you know, not what you know. I'm going to challenge that actually and say it's who you know and what you know, because what you know will set you apart from everybody else. You don't have financial knowledge. You're just going to be like every other sucker out there. Sorry, man. Like, everybody's like working for a living, working for money, and not getting ahead. I was in that boat. I was getting so frustrated. Richard, I was making 112,000 a year, okay, as a major, and I had no money to spend. I was having to be frugal to the point where I didn't have any car payments because I drive a 94 4Runner. I've haggled the service providers down to, like, my phone was $45 a month. My internet was at 90 down to 50. Like, I haggled them down. I barely had the lights on. I had the heat low in the wintertime. I fucking barely ran the water, man. Everything you can think of to reduce costs. I bought what I needed, and that was it. And I rarely splurged. And if I needed to return something, I would. I wouldn't just buy excessively. And just before I got the military back pay, the back pay from 3 years of our pay being frozen, I was just about to go into overdraft.
Yeah.
I was about to go in overdraft. And it was the back pay that saved me from going into overdraft. And I realized...
Like go ahead.
I just realized at that point in time, man, with the anger and the frustration that I had, like, I wasn't financially growing. I barely had anything to show for a 16-year career. Unlimited liability serving the country. I was getting so angry, man. Like,
yeah,
that's when something had to change. You can't change the system. You can't change anybody else but yourself. And if you try, you're gonna burn yourself out. This is another piece of wisdom that I got from Robert, which is the only thing you can change is yourself and the way you think. And then that's when I looked at my old idea of turning my place into an Airbnb. And I started moving towards doing that. And yeah, I may have displaced myself, and I'm staying with family for the most part and friends and here and there, but I'm able to have a bit of cash flow now. I have a little bit of money like I used to before the market got stupid. I actually have a little bit of cash flow now. I had more money, my money had more buying power as a lieutenant in Edmonton than as a captain in Borden than as a major in Ottawa.
Yeah.
What were you saying, man?
I feel like a lot of your like liquid money that you may have accumulated over the years like went into like the two properties that you had. Like I think you picked up a property in Victoria and Ottawa, and I would imagine that like that's what sucked up like all of your access spending money would just have been going into those two things, which hopefully if they just sort of like retained their value, if they maybe the market is down right now a little bit, but I would imagine a lot of the constraint that you feel over like your spending money is that all the value goes into those properties, which I guess is not like a total loss. They might not be growing, but maybe they're hopefully like storing value. And if so, I guess it would like psychologically the budget is very tight, but hopefully those are kind of like those properties are like sponges or something that at some point you'll get you'll at least get your money back if not make a little bit of profit at some point.
Until we have a 2008 repeat, which I suspect is imminent, and then the value of your property just fucking plummets.
Yeah, you
So
just don't sell that year, and just wait a few years.
yeah, but then all that money you think you were amassing, that you're paying into this place, just blood away, disappears.
Yeah, that's the
So,
same. That's what stocks do as well. You just got to keep waiting forever.
well, like people confuse cryptocurrency as a stock, and they put money into it thinking that it's going to grow in the long run, but it's a currency. It's not a stock. And here I'm like, people are telling me it's a stock, and I'm like believing them, and I'm like, I'm looking at my Bitcoin, I'm looking at my Ethereum, and I'm just like, wow, I've been just losing money over the years because people are day trading it. They're buying low and selling high, and they're mining it, and it's losing value and gaining value depending on like movements that are happening, that unless you have the most current information. And that's the thing, wealth this day and age is having cutting edge information. So if you don't understand what's going on like at a macro view, you don't know if Elon Musk is supporting Bitcoin or this or that's happening. Like if you don't know these big movements, you're not going to know if how the stock market's impacted, which is completely and fully emotionally driven. I got to see firsthand what it was like for a new company, how the stock has all the hype and how it will fucking surge in price. And this is where like all the day traders go crazy, and they'll put in a bunch and then just like pull out as soon as they think they can make money, and then it will go from like let's say $30 to $90 for a stock in a span of a day. And you'll see like for a lot of stocks, you go back in time 5 years depending on their age, you'll see obviously there's COVID and you'll see the spikes there, but you'll see for like new companies like with the hype, there's the initial peaks. I don't know if it's always two, but I've seen two consistently. It might be more, might be less. And that's the day traders doing their thing. It's pure gambling. Exactly what it is. And if you want to take advantage of the gamble, you get in as soon as they go public, the company goes public, you buy low, and you throw in maybe 10,000, 100,000, and then you just have a number in your mind. You're like, okay, 5%. That's it. And you don't get greedy. And you take that 5% and you don't put it back in even though it's going up and down. Because the beginning, it can flatline and you can lose everything. Or it goes up and then it comes back down and never goes back up again. I've seen that happen too. And so, What am I getting out with this? Besides, stocks are interesting. I don't know what I'm getting with it, but
It's just like such a long game. Like I feel like it's so competitive in the short term. Even if there is gains to be made, you can't really do it without, like some network and people, and like watching everything so closely all the time, like 24/7.
yeah,
And then,
like
I don't know. For me, it's like I just play this very long game of like do the same thing that, like, S&P 500. Everybody's got their stuff in there, and then just wait forever and don't worry if it goes down or whatever or up. Just keep the money until I'm like forced to withdraw it slowly during retirement to like pay the bills or something.
mm-hmm. And that's hope. So everybody that's doing that, they're getting their on average 8, 10, maybe 12% each year. That's just each year. It's possible if you're an active day trader to make 10 to 20% on a monthly basis. Now, I mean, like that's some would argue it's not sustainable, but having a monthly return versus a yearly return, I mean, you're going to be growing a lot faster than you would be if you were to be active with your money. So this whole putting your money in and letting it grow slowly, it's what people do to be safe, but their money isn't really working as hard as it could be. And if you don't have any investment knowledge, then yeah, do that. Give your money to an investor, a financial advisor, investor, and have them put it in a good portfolio for you. That's the thing is, if they're a shit investor and they put your money into a crappy portfolio, and you check it once, if you don't check it once a year, then by the time you go pull it out, you might not have really anything because you hoped that someone did their job. And there still needs to be some due diligence there, but I have a good portfolio. So right now, until I learn more about investing, I have a tax-free savings account, an RRSP, that mutual fund. I'm doing the index mutual fund, whatever. And I thought it was the same thing, and yet my TFSA is doing better than my RRSP. But that's just temporary holding pattern. So like, I'm sort of beating inflation until I figure out what I want to do with that money. Because another piece of advice that Robert gives is, if your money is just sitting and not working for you, you're wasting it. Like your money needs to be moving and active and growing at all times. So like if you have a bunch of money sitting in the equity of your home or in your home, like all that equity sitting, that's just doing nothing. It's just sitting there. Crazy, man. You just have like this, you have all this wealth you're just sitting on that you're not going to be able to touch unless you downsize when you're older, or you fucking die and it goes to your kids and they sell your property and then squander it because they have no financial education. They don't know what to do with it. They'd be like my so-called mother, who inherited her aunt's property, a detached house on the beach in Toronto, listed it for 1.1 million, ended up getting 1.4 something for it, and she fucking squandered most of it. Gave it away to family who came begging, and pays my aunt off to go deliver groceries to her. And on one hand, that was generous, and it's what happens to everybody that gets money. But then, she's smart in other ways, where she bought herself a used truck. Not a new vehicle, but a used truck. It's good. Gets safety. She gets T-boned or gets, it's a bigger vehicle. Car hits her, she doesn't even fucking notice. And she's renting in the slums in Scarborough. And her rent has been frozen, locked in since she got it like 10 years ago? 15 years ago? I don't know how long she's been living there, forever. So she's paying nothing for rent. So she has like those two things figured out. Like she's kept her like expenses down to like nothing except outside of her like gifting and then having my aunt deliver her shit. But it was like giving all this money away with that. She just lost it. But then what I'm getting at is people who do not have a financial education, they're going to squander their money. So you can amass all this wealth in your home, die, give it to your offspring, and they just fucking buy a Porsche. You know, they buy all these
Yeah.
liabilities and they don't have assets that can grow the money. And so this is like, if you die, it doesn't matter. Like, you weren't going to grow your money anyway. But say if you are alive and you had all this money, all this wasted potential just sitting in your place. Oh yeah, sure, your mortgage payments are low. You're paying, less and less interest over a span of 20, 30 years, whatever your period is. But you can take that equity and you can make more than what your interest payments are. Maybe right now it's kind of sort of, if it gets any higher, probably don't do that. But if it gets down to like 3% again, then yes, 100%. You could pull your equity out and you can invest that and make more. Like, actively use that money to make more than what your increased mortgage payments are. You can invest in other properties and spread that wealth. And the market goes up and you have multiple properties now collecting value. And then you can refinance all these properties and pull that money out and then continue to expand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is strange though how like houses are like an investment opportunity, like because like everybody needs like a house to live in for shelter, but they double as like this investment thing that people are trying to like make millions off of by like buying and selling houses, when like it would be nice if we could separate that somehow, where houses just cost like a flat fee. You could buy and sell them for like the same price, take them over, like live in them. Uh, but like they never, like we wouldn't have this, like houses are like exponentially growing in cost and people are like buying and selling them like competitively, when really it would be nice if we could just afford one to live inside, and then we would just, and then it's like then we would live for free essentially too. Like instead of banking on like the house making us money, we would just have a free place to live, and then we would be done. Like you just have to pay for food basically, and then you're good. You don't have any rent payment or something.
That would be ideal. But you can just keep dreaming there, buddy. Paying off your house is going to be eventually a multi-generational thing.
Yeah. The other
Seriously,
cool
like
thing would
it.
be instead of like gifting all your savings to like your kids or whatever, like in bulk, it would be cool if you could make like a locked account where like the bulk of the money would be invested and it would just like pay out the interest payments like monthly to whoever your inheritor like is. And that way like they couldn't blow it all at once. They would just every month forever they would get like this monthly payment that would maybe grow over time, and just like, and then they would, when they die, they pile on money and then point it to the next person, and everyone's life just gets a bit easier because they're getting these like monthly payments like from this massive account that's just like invested somewhere, but nobody can like just wipe out the whole account by squandering it or something.
That probably exists. I don't know.
Yeah, some kind of, I think that may be what a trust fund is, but I think a trust fund, once you get a certain age, you just get control of it or something like that.
Well, they have life insurance policies that you can start for your kid. I think it was when they're like maybe 2 months old. I don't remember the exact.
Yeah.
Like when they were super young, you could start paying into this, and then you can have it so that they can access it when you want them to have access to it, and then they pay it when they're ready to start making the payments. Like, but you can have control over it even though it's their policy. And then, yeah, but I don't know much more about infinity banking or the life insurance stuff because I'm aware of it. Don't know if that's an option for middle class. Could be. I think it's more of a tool for the rich.
There's this figure that's, if you deposit, well, I just looked it up randomly. It says if you deposit $7,000, like you invest $7,000 the day like a baby is born, then that money will grow to $1 million by the time that baby is 65. And that's just such a weird figure that I've heard of occasionally.
If
So that's so interesting. $7,000 invested for 65 years is $1 million. So if you just
it,
put $7,000, yeah, imagine that. It's like you'd think that every kid would be retiring a millionaire at 65. Like who would not have $1 million at 65 if 7,000 is is $1 million? It seems
yeah,
so
that's
odd.
that's if the market steadily performs at, well, I don't know what
Yeah.
percentage, like a high enough
It should be
percentage,
like,
right?
even if it's bad, it should be like roughly $1 million, I would think.
Well, a couple bad years can really slow the growth, right? I mean, as you start getting later up in the years, that's when the money really starts to multiply. It's just money has like this sort of, I don't know if it's logarithmic or what it is, but just increases in magnitude greatly as the number becomes larger. So it's easier for $1 million to be 1.5 or 2 versus, getting to $1 million. Like it takes longer to grow the numbers. So it's the final few years that's where you're really seeing the wealth come in if it's consistent. If the growth is consistent all the way through. If you got 2, 3, 4, 5 bad years throughout, you're not going to reach that $1 million mark. You're going to be much less. So yeah, if the
Yeah,
conditions are perfect from very beginning for 60, it hasn't happened. So I know people say that, but I haven't seen it happen. Not just me. The market's never been consistent like that. Like at least in our generation. So saving or putting your money into mutual funds is hope, and I've constantly hear that hope is not a plan. I think there's more we can do than just hoping for the best. What we can do is we can learn about finances. They don't teach it in schools, and if your parents don't teach you, you don't know unless you start teaching yourself. So we can start learning about money and how it works. And when you know more, then opportunities will present themselves. If you can't see an opportunity, so you may have opportunities, but you just can't see them. Like for instance, Bitcoin. People were like, "Oh, I should have bought Bitcoin." Oh, in hindsight, right? But I had opportunities. I I had 2 warnings. I had a friend who was mining it when you could buy Bitcoin for like nothing.
yeah,
And then I watched a documentary called Explain that talked about Bitcoin being like the future. I had 2 warnings, but I didn't have the knowledge on how to actually buy it. I didn't understand how all that stuff worked,
yeah.
how all that worked. And so I missed it. I mean, I got in, I was the bigger fool because I got in and I bought it at uh, 60,000. So I lost a bit, a few thousand
I
at the end. But
still I still believe in it randomly. Like there's no basis for my thinking, but I think it would go beyond 60 at some point, like 60,000 again someday, like 10 or 20 years from now. Could be like 100,000 or more.
or
That's
just
yeah.
or just stabilizes as it is. Maybe more and
That would
more
be cool. Yeah.
maybe more and more coins are mined, and eventually, like, maybe it just stabilizes and it stays at 40 or something, 40K. Like it just, that's it.
Because with all this travel, like going to Europe, there's like your credit card will get charged a fee if you use it overseas, and you can't be sure that they'll accept it. And even at that, it's one of 2 companies, right? You either have a Visa card or a Mastercard, and then they charge fees for the money. And even just recently, I was trying to me and my friend shared a hotel room. I was trying to like send them my half of the bill, and you'll get like blocked if you're trying to send too much. Like Apple Pay's cash transfer network was like down for a day, and so we had a lot of trouble just transferring like a couple $100 between us. And now I'm sort of facing this thing like of how do I guarantee that my credit card will work, or should I bring cash like to Europe, or should I exchange money for some fee? But if all of this was Bitcoin, like if me and my friend had Bitcoin, we could transfer. If every merchant in Europe accepted Bitcoin, I could just have my Bitcoin wallet and it would be no different, like no extra fee. I could just go there and be assured that it would work. And it doesn't have to be exactly Bitcoin. It could just use the technology of Bitcoin and be some kind of like international government standard. But it does that to me, that sounds very promising. Like to be able to send money to anyone, anywhere, no questions asked, and to be able to just go to another country and have your crypto wallet work as it would anywhere in your own country or online or securely. That seems very powerful. And I feel like if it becomes stable, even people will start to use it, and different versions will be adopted, and I think that could cause it to be exciting again and grow. And that doesn't really mean anything other than like I think most of the benefit will just become from a modern financial system rather than us investing in it, but maybe our money will be more powerful just as a technology in the future.
Yeah, we will see. Well, I'm holding on to it. I'm not selling, but because then I'll have an actual loss. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But what it's taught me is I have a lot to learn, and there's a lot that I don't know. So maybe actively learning and making sure I don't miss another opportunity like that again. I don't know if another one's coming up. Like there's fusion. Like Bill Gates is going to be starting a company if he hasn't already. I think it's called Terra Power or Power Terra, and there's AI. So you got two big, huge things that are going to change the world coming up. It's just how do you get on that wave, right? So like, do you invest in AI, one of the many companies that are out there, or do you invest in microchips? And for fusion, do you go with Bill Gates, who already has, like massive business, billionaire, who knows what he's doing? Like, why not? How? And then so I'm like, I'm trying to figure out how do I find out when his stock comes out. Like I need to understand how this works, because when it comes out, I want to be there. I'll throw 10,000 at it. I don't think it's gonna.
I feel like the knowledge is important, like learning as much as we can about how this technology, like if fusion's coming out, then how does it work? And if we're smart enough and we see that it's going to work just ahead of the curve, then we can just invest in any company that's, just like any company that's reasonably, has a website where they talk intelligently about the technology, then we can just invest in them and we'll be good to go.
That's what you don't do, Richard. That's called gambling. Yeah, you got to look at their numbers, right? So at the beginning, if they're new, it's all gambling. You don't know if they're going to do well or not, right? They could flatline. So you want to see what their earnings are.
Yeah.
You have to
just don't want yeah.
You got to intimately follow them. You have to know what their earnings are. You got to know if they have. And this is like another thing is if you actually have your own business and you know how businesses run, you're business savvy, and you can tell if another business is going to be successful or not. I'm not saying I know, like I get systems, but I don't know what goes into I don't know what goes into making a business successful. Not fully, not truly. So like you can look at the financials and you can see if they're increasing or if they're downsizing their people. And if they're downsizing their people, they could just be doing that to appease shareholders. Or it could be because they're getting more efficient and things are becoming more automated. So unless you're like looking at it really closely, you got to look at it closely to see if that business is doing well or not. Because stocks are basically a promise for their future earnings. So you get a piece of it. And if they have no future earnings because they're going to bankrupt, well, then your stock's not worth anything. It might be overinflated actually when you buy it because all this hype. But really, it could not be. It could just flatline. And I think that's going to happen to a lot of AI companies that are trying out. If they don't know what they're doing, they could flatline, and you could invest in one of those. So be careful if you're planning on it. I don't know which one to invest in. And then with Fusion, it could be the same
I
thing.
just avoid that altogether now. I only do S&P 500. I think is my new thing. I don't do any company.
But that's the safe thing. But then you're still at the mercy of the market overall. I mean, if it goes down overall, then you get hit. So like another COVID happens, you'll get hit. But if a COVID happens and there's a huge dip, well, I'll be benefiting from it because I would have pulled all my money out once I saw that the dip is coming. And then once it's rock bottom, it flattens out down like 20%, that's when I buy up all the stocks. And then it will shoot back up over time. So it's during chaos, that's when there's opportunity. It's when the market is low and when people don't have money, that's when the opportunity exists. And that's where the wealthy come in and they buy stocks and they buy houses, they buy the power of sales, and then the market recovers. You would start to think that it's all orchestrated, that these low points happen because the rich pull the strings, affect government affects law policy, they change things, they print money, they fucking give people the emergency benefit, and they created the market we just experienced. And if they were orchestrating this, they knew exactly when to pull their shit out, and they knew exactly when to buy because they orchestrated it.
Yeah, and have you seen actually like the senators in the United States, like Senate, they actually do sell like exactly on time, and they rebuy, like they sell right before the dip and they buy at the bottom, and like they hit it exactly every time. Like if you look back into history, like there's a couple of senators that like they buy and sell at exactly the right time, and they're also like the exact same guys who, you know, pass the policies and everything.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah.
But that's sort of like proving my point there, that does happen.
That's who we're like competing against, is like the people that literally it's their job to like crash the market.
But it's not just them, there's the rich that benefit from it as well, right? So how do I word this?
Well, I want to point out one strategy is if you keep 10% of your portfolio like in cash, so that when the market dips, you can use that cash to buy low. That's like a fairly good strategy that I've heard, is like you have 90% money invested that you never sell, even if there's like you could never sort of know in advance if there's a dip, but you just like let the market dip, but keep like 10% in cash for the explicit purpose of like when there's a dip, you know, use that money to buy, and then just, you know, and then it raises back up, and you know, just like from your paycheck or whatever, just accumulate savings, roughly 10, you know, leave 10% of your savings in cash so that you can just keep buying whenever it dips. Because you, and more specifically, it's like you don't try to buy at the bottom of the dip. You just, every time the market goes down, you like buy a little bit, and then you buy, like you keep buying more and more as it goes down, and then you know, maybe as if it starts going up, then you sell a little bit until you're back to your like 10% like balance or something every so often. And that way you're never like completely exposed. Like, cause if you buy or sell everything and you're wrong, then you're very exposed and you might get stuck on the wrong side of like a swing or something like that.
Interesting. Yeah, you're doing the averaging thing. Cost averaging? Yeah, it works. What else was there? Oh yeah, but if you're sitting on that 10% cash, then that cash is losing money.
Well, you know what's crazy? There's like banks right now have a very good interest rate. Like if you hold cash in this app called Robinhood, it's like 4.1%. Yeah. 4%.
Yeah. Well, Simple's the same. Yeah. I mean, that's bare that's bare minimum. I mean, that's what banks should be paying at least. So,
Yeah, that would
but
be
they don't.
like, yeah, it would be so easy if it was impossible to not get 4% with any money. It would be so easy to save.
Well, they'll take your 100,000, give you 4%, and then turn around and make 10, 20
Yeah,
off of it. So
yeah,
yeah, it's about time they start paying us to hold our fucking money. Like it's about time. And the fact that banks don't, they pay us fucking nothing. It's garbage. It's a double
yeah.
standard, man, and it's
I
aggravating.
can't believe it's even legal when banks get like giant bailouts all the time.
And then there's the billions of dollars they make off of overdrafts. It's just it's they're the biggest fraudsters out there. And if the banks can get away with it, why can't we? So anyway, it really does bother me. And the more I become aware of it, the more my eyes are opened. And I never go back to the 9 to 5 grind thinking I'm getting ahead. I'll never get back to that position because I did it. I was a good soldier. I was a good soldier for 16 years and it got me nowhere. And yeah, you did talk about my BC place, but I just followed conventional knowledge. Pay down your mortgage as quickly as you can. Yada yada yada. Like your house is an asset. I had the condo. Oh, that's a retirement investment there. Oh yeah, you're paying into it, but you'll get it back when with the market increasing, all that stuff. But I'm losing now. I'm losing $1,300 a month to that BC condo because the renter got locked in at $2,100, and my cost for that place is a lot more. It's $1,300 more. So, and what can I do? The tenants have all the rights. So that's the problem. Is like that's a risk. That's a huge issue with real estate. Is you buy a place, you have someone else pay your mortgage, but if the mortgage rates are fucking crazy like they are now, this is unheard of that they increase like they did, and so many people are getting fucked because the tenants you can't boot them. They have all the rights. The only way you can get them out is if you move into the property and like live there for 6 months. And if you don't, well, then you can face a lawsuit for lying.
Right.
So, like, I'm at the point now where it's like, I need to get posted back to BC. I'm selling my Ottawa condo. Oh, by the way, don't buy condos. Because condos, like, if you want to invest in real estate, they'll take away all your buying power because the fucking maintenance costs are considered an expenditure.
Condo fees and everything. There's HOA fees.
And you get nothing for them. It's bullshit. So I'm selling my Ottawa condo. I'm selling my BC condo, and I'm gonna buy detached, like just buy houses instead of this fucking condo bullshit. And my Ottawa condo, like it literally gives me nothing. Not even landscaping. It does garbage collection, and that is it. Garbage collection, and I get that for free anyway. My taxes pay for that. I'm pretty sure, and that's all I get. They don't do landscaping. They barely do snow removal because I put down my own damn ice and shovel myself. And I mean, what I do get from the maintenance fees is them telling me what to do with my property and what I can't do. So that's great. What else? No amenities. Window cleaning. I get that, but I could do that myself. I literally get nothing, and I pay $350 a month. Nothing. I get nothing for it. It just goes into this contingency in case I need to do some sort of rework to the other buildings. I gotta pay for other people's shit. It's just like taxes, man. It's just like
that's the thing where once they've amassed a certain pool of money, they should just hold it and then start paying back like dividends to the occupants until if there's a maintenance cost, then exhaust the fund and reenact.
Boom, dividends.
Yeah.
Yes. And next AGM, I'm going to talk about dividends. I'm going to actually ask the finance guy's useless. So he actually lied to our faces. So, but that should be like we're sitting at over $300,000. What's that money doing? Oh well, it can't actually incur interest because that's against Well, if that money isn't growing, I'm going to be asking some serious questions. Where is this money invested? And why aren't we getting dividends back? Because we should be getting something back. Well, but that's not how strata fees work. That's how money works. So, anyway, what I'm getting at is the more I learn about money, the more I realize how most of the population, like how little they know on average. And it's what keeps us good soldiers and good technicians, and it's what keeps the economy going at the end of the day. You have to keep the people ignorant so they do the 9 to 5. People have to do the jobs. The system runs the way it does so that we have blue collar and white collar workers for the business owners, for the CEOs. That's why it is the way it is. And once you start to wake up from that, you realize you're in the Matrix, man. I watched the
It
Matrix
is
after realizing.
scary.
I
Yeah.
watched. I felt like I was unplugged, man. I'm getting flushed down the fucking drain, and it sucks. I feel it. I feel detached from everything. I had never felt so lost and so free at the same time. Yeah, man. Anyway, I got to get going, but good chat,
Yeah, good chat.
and let me know. You're going to go in 2 weeks to Europe, yeah?
Next Tuesday, actually, I'm flying at 6 p.m. next Tuesday, so I don't think
Okay,
I'll be able to make. Yeah, I'll be gone for
understand.
2 weeks.
Well, you let me know when we can talk next.
Yeah, I'll let you know. All right.
All right, have a good trip, man.
Thanks.
Bye
Bye.
bye.